the way you shake my bones and make me queasy.
You're so cute, I love you.
Salivary
Evan, we
glance
go.
back to no end. No one said we
Hi.
would be easy.
Woo!
Now I'm running on empty. Running on empty. Running on empty.
Hello everybody, welcome to another dating Q&A. My bangs are longer, but dating is still freaking weird. And it's even weirder because I'm on a low FODMAP diet, so I made some low FODMAP peanut butter cookies. They're not great, they're not bad either, and I can have 3 of them, so that's good. Oh, also, I need to go get my coffee. 1 second. There we go. Much better. Oh. Caffeine and sugar, everyone. So if I'm a little bit manic, it's because of the caffeine and the sugar. And the dating, of course. This is kind of in my way, actually. I'm just gonna put that there. Look, I have much better recipes for peanut butter cookies. Somewhere in the videos, I'll link it down below. But this is so easy. It's low FODMAP, 3 ingredients plus the chocolate. I mean, I wish dating was this easy. Wow. Before I begin, of course, I am not qualified in any shape or form to give advice on relationships, even though I'm doing it anyway. I'm not a sex therapist, I'm not a relationship therapist. I am just a gal who has been on dates, who has been in relationships, who has gone through breakups. And I am very passionate about this subject, the subject of dating, the subject of sex, casual sex, monogamy, polyamory. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. I'm gonna answer some questions I asked on my Instagram stories, and let's get started. Okay, so the first question, I'm gonna read them off my phone. Can I be friends with an ex that I still love, or is that bad for me? Look, this is obviously, and I think for all these questions, it will always be best for you to check in with yourself first and see how you're feeling with the entire situation. My views on staying friends with a past relationship is that it can work, but I do feel, at least in my experience, that I did need some time off. I needed some time off to process my own emotions, to go through my breakup on my own, to not have my ex-partner be kind of this crutch just because we were both going through the same thing. Of course, I did have to have a little bit of contact here and there for like the first maybe 2 weeks, and then I woke up one day and I told myself, okay, I need to take responsibility of taking care of myself and being responsible of my own emotions and being responsible for my own happiness. There comes a point where I feel like if you want to always talk to your ex-partner because you're looking for that feel-good feeling, that is some sort of codependency that is probably not healthy. I think it is possible, but it's not necessary. It isn't an act of nobility. It doesn't make you better than your friends who are not friends with their exes. It's just a personal decision. Do you want to still have them in your life because they add value to your life in a positive way, and because you can look past your differences and still have a really beautiful friendship? Then of course. But if you're trying to make it work just because you want to be that person that makes things work, I don't think it doesn't mean anything, and it doesn't prove anything. You are just as worthy and as noble if you decide to have a friendship with your past relationship, and if you decide to cut them out of your life altogether because you know that that is what's best for you and them. So that was a very long way of saying you do you. I'm scared of having sex because I don't like my nipples. They're too big and unattractive. We are sold this very specific image of beauty that is only achievable for like the very, very few. And it is not your fault that you feel insecure with your own body. It is not your fault whatsoever, because I'd be extremely surprised if anyone didn't feel insecure about any part of their bodies in this day and age. However, it is your responsibility to fight against the bullshit. It is your responsibility to do that not only for yourself, but for the people, the women around you. I understand that there's many ways of developing self-love and developing this genuine love for yourself. Some people love affirmations and this idea of repetition, of repeating to yourself that you love your body. For me, I love the idea of movement, and I always feel sexy. I always get in a better mood when I put some good music on and I just dance freely in my house. And I've said it about 1,000,000 times and you're probably already rolling your eyes like, oh my God, the same advice. But it is so true for me. When I move my body, when I look at myself in the mirror and I touch myself lovingly, it's just like you become more, I think, comfortable obviously with your body, but just because of this, you become accustomed to it. It's just like, oh yeah, there it is. And honestly, in any sexual situation, in any sexual encounter, like when you are naked in front of whoever you're naked with, that person, and I cannot stress this enough, will not give a fuck what you look like. They have already made it. They're in the bedroom, they're with you, they're naked. They are not thinking that, oh my goodness, this woman has bigger nipples than any woman I've ever been. Like, no, they don't think about that. Just like, I don't know if you've had sex before, but it's not about what anything looks like when you're having sex. It really isn't. It's about what things feel like, because you are sometimes in the weirdest positions, but you get into those positions and you do weird things because they feel good. So it's all about the feeling. When it comes to yourself, it should be about the feeling as well, and not about what anything looks like or what ridiculous people we see on TV or pornography. None of that has a pulse to it. You have a pulse. You have a wonderful body, and I'm not just saying that just to say that. It's because it's true. You have a body that keeps you alive, and that is a miracle in of itself. And to think that you are handing your power over to someone else to judge your body is absolutely insane to me. So don't hand over your power to anyone but yourself. You decide how you feel, and you better decide that you're gonna feel good in your body. It takes time, I tell you, it takes time. It's not a thing that you like wake up and you're like, ooh, I feel great. But it is something that you should wake up one day and say, you know what, I decide today that I'm going to feel good. You might not feel great the entire day, but you make that decision and you try and follow through as often as possible. You try and catch your thoughts, and it becomes easier. Your brain loves sameness. Your brain doesn't like change. And so when you've been accustomed to talking negatively to yourself about yourself, then that's what your brain is gonna pick and do on a day-to-day basis. So when you decide to feel good and you decide to catch your thoughts whenever possible, you are teaching your brain that this is your new zone of comfort. This is what you want to always gravitate towards. But it is a decision that you have to make. And then through that, you start doing better for yourself. You start talking better towards yourself, which means that other people around you start noticing that, and then they start doing the same for themselves. So your nipples are never too big, because nipples are just freaking nipples. There is no, this is the ideal size and everything is out there is either less or more. No, it's just like, this is it. This is what we've been given, and everyone should just be okay with that. Not everyone has to be okay with that, just you have to be okay with that. Next question. So, I want to be attracted to someone, but I just can't feel attracted to them. What should I do? This is the funny thing about love and dating, and this is why you shouldn't take anything too seriously. And this is what I've learned as well, because I've been rejected and I've been ghosted, and it's a little bit of a blow to the ego. But then when it happens to me and I'm rejecting someone that is great on paper, but there's just not that attraction, I understand that it's just out of your control. Sometimes there are wonderful people out there for you, and you're like, wow, this person, he might be the one. And then you just do not feel attracted to them, and that's just nothing that you can control. So the only thing that you have left to do is to communicate that to whoever you're seeing and decide if you want to end it because you don't want to lead this person on, or if you want to transition it into a friendship. I'm going to say, so that you can all have hope. So I dated this guy we went on 3 different dates. He then kind of rejected me. And then I recognized that, yeah, we weren't romantically compatible, but I knew there was something about him that I really enjoyed and that I really liked, and we had the same humor. And so I got over my bloody ego and I sent him a message and asked him if he wanted to be friends. And now he's one of my bestest friends, and I can't believe how lucky I am to have met him through a dating app. But when it comes to attraction, it's just one of those things, you either feel it or you don't, and I don't think there's much that you can do about it. So yeah, that's just my opinion. What I will say is that I have found that when you're constantly attracted to the same kind of person that isn't good for you, then maybe that is a reflection on some work that you need to do, because maybe you're filling in some insecurities through other people, etc., etc. So I think it is always, again, why I find dating so intriguing is that you can definitely find out patterns about yourself, especially when you're dating the same kind of person and it is not working out. Do you think it's possible to meet a person without being on dating apps? 100% you can. However, it comes with a big level of confidence that you need to develop immediately. You definitely can. I think it's probably easier for some people. Like for some people, it'll probably be easier if they already have a big social group of friends. They live in the same place, they are not new to the area. It's probably harder for people that don't have many friends, don't go out as much, are new to the area, are introverted. Yeah, but it's definitely possible. I dated a guy for around 2 months and I met him at a party. However, the only reason I started talking to him, I mean, not the only reason, but like the reason I decided to approach him was because I had seen him on a dating app. So that was a good way to open up conversation. So it is possible, but I think you just have to be confident and put yourself out there. Yeah, you just have to put yourself out there, and if you see someone and you think that you'll fancy them, you need to go up there and talk to them. And I think this is what I'm trying to be better at, because when it comes to confidence, especially confidence in approaching someone, whew, that is really hard for me. And I've just started thinking of things a little bit less seriously. Like, what is the worst that is going to happen? Like, truly, what is the worst thing that's going to happen? He's not interested? Whatever. That is fine. That is not the end of the world. I barely know this person. For the most part, I've gained friends. I've done very fun things. I've met really cool people. And I think as you get older, you realize that things don't matter as much as you think they do. And something might feel mortifying in the moment. And then 2-3 days later, it's fine. And this is again the other thing. Once you do it once, then you're like, I can do this again, and I can do this again, and I can do this again. And then suddenly you're the person that reaches out to other people, is confident, and won't be petrified of starting a conversation with someone they find attractive. So yeah, put yourself out there. And this is coming from an introvert as well. I used to be extremely introverted, and I have realized that putting myself in a box in which I consistently feed myself the same idea, I'm an introvert, I'm so nervous, I'm so anxious, it's just reinforcing this idea. And I am trying to not reinforce any label onto myself. These days, the only label I go by is low FODMAP. I'm going on a date tonight. Thought it'd be hilarious to make a video on dating before I go on a date. Maybe it would have been even better if I did it after the date and tell you how it went, but I'm working tomorrow, so. Okay, how do you get a guy to make his mind up about dating you? It is not your job to make anyone want to date you. Your only job is to make you want to date you. And like when you go out on a date and you're feeling good about yourself because you love yourself, it's up to them to decide whether they want to be with you or whether they don't. This in-between bullshit, we shouldn't have any time for it. There should be no time wasted in trying to convince someone of how precious you are or how good you are or how cool you are. This should all be obvious to them. You do not need to convince anyone to date you. You are just probably dating the wrong person. As I said, there are so many people out there, and I'm sure that you can find one person or many that do not need any convincing to date you. People rejecting you has nothing to do with your personality, and it doesn't mean that you must change anything. It just means that they were looking for something different and they needed different things, and it's on them. That's it. It's on them. And it'll always be like that. And I'll tell you this story because I realized that through dating, I was doing this thing in which I wanted to be the most liked by everyone. I wanted to please everyone on the dating app so that I would get more matches. And I quickly realized that that made absolutely no sense because I was going out with these people that did not match my energy, my frequency, my humor, my intelligence. We were just very different. And I was like, why am I trying to put on this persona and trying to match as many people as possible, but in reality what I'm trying to look for is someone who is actually compatible with me? I found it very funny because one of the things that always made me a little bit nervous was telling a guy that I was vegan and that the restaurant that we had to go to was a vegan restaurant. And when I say that out loud, I'm like, fuck, you're such an idiot. You should want to date someone who doesn't care about your dietary requirements. Just like I don't care about anybody's dietary requirements. Like I wish everyone would go plant-based, of course. I think what dating apps do is that you become so obsessed with the constant match because it's like a reassurance that you are valuable and that you are attractive and people do like you, that you start to want to appeal to the masses, and therefore you never have any fun dating because you realize that you don't want to date the masses. You want to date a person that is compatible with you. And you probably, most likely, because for most of us, we do not appeal to the masses, and that is a good thing, my friends. That is a good thing. You don't want to be attractive to everyone. It would make no sense that you're attractive to everyone. So the next time you get rejected, say, hell yeah, this means that I am closer, maybe, to finding someone who is truly compatible with me, who is truly attracted to me, and I can find someone who I'm truly compatible with and truly attracted to. We're always trying to sell ourselves short in some ways, and then we always want to please everyone. And it's just, there's no time for that anymore. The world is burning. We'll probably die from some sort of climate disaster. There is no longer any time to think about the size of your nipples, or whether this person needs to be convinced to date you, or whether to have sex on the first date or the fourth date. This is for myself as well, because I do struggle with these things as well. I'm not yelling at you, I'm yelling at myself. Focus on the things that make you feel good. seek pleasure daily. Write a list of all the things that make you feel good and try to do one of them at least once a day. And I tell you that once you develop and once you believe that you are in charge of your own pleasure and your own happiness, and you have the tools and use the tools to make you feel good, you'll stop depending on someone else, on some random stranger to give you validation and to give you that pleasure. And that is so powerful. Grab your power, hold on to it, don't give it away to anybody, and let someone add value and add pleasure, not be the only source of value and source of pleasure in your life. How to escape the Tinder small talk trap and actually go on a date. This is the easiest question I'll answer today, and it is ask to go on a date. That's it, that's all you have to do. Stop the small talk, just ask them out, and if they say yes, great. If they say no, great as well. You can move on, match with someone else. A lot of dating is just building confidence in yourself, and that's why dating is great, I feel, a lot of the times, because you have to develop the confidence that you probably thought you didn't have, but you actually do have. Next question, how to feel confident and attractive before going on a date or vice versa? I think for me, it is a lot to do with movement, with exploring myself, looking at myself in the mirror, touching myself, putting some sexy music on that always makes me feel really confident and attractive. The other things that I always also like doing is sometimes I like buying myself something really nice to wear and really taking the time to get myself ready and feel good and pretty. I love doing those things as well before a date, but also it's all an internal thing. If you have the sexiest dress on and your hair is looking fly and your makeup is great, but you kind of feel shitty inside, people can feel the energy, people know, people can sense, just like toxic people can sense the vulnerable around them. You can pick up on those energies. So it's all an internal thing. You need to start doing good things for yourself. You need to start believing that you are wonderful and beautiful. You need to start hanging out with people who reinforce that idea. You need to start reading. You need to start journaling. There are so many ways to gain confidence. And if after that date you are like, oh my God, that was kind of shitty, I don't feel so great, have a list always with you of things that you know will make you feel good. This is the thing about the brain as well. We are so easy to forget. And especially when we're feeling down, we forget that we know exactly how to get ourselves to feeling better. So when you come back from a date and you're feeling quite shitty, make yourself a nice cup of tea, watch your favorite show, have a little boogie, write about it, find ways to make yourself feel good. You are in control of your pleasure. You are in control of creating your own joy and your own delights. Yeah. I think for me, confidence, still something that I struggle with because I'm an overthinker and I go on dates and then I think of everything I said and how it could have been better, and it's such a bad habit. It's a terrible habit. For me, confidence has just been putting myself out there and seeing that I am a person. I think it's sometimes quite hard to develop confidence when you're on your own and when you're secluded, and I feel like you learn about it in theory, but it's not until you're out there putting yourself in the battlefield that you realize, holy shit, I am resilient, I am cool, I can do this, I can be confident. When in dating do you talk about your mental health? And I found this question really interesting because I've been thinking a lot about that. And I think in the end, your mental health is yours and you don't owe any explanation to anyone, and you don't have to think about what the right timeline is or isn't. You discuss it whenever you feel like discussing it, and with some people it'll be easier, and with other people you'll probably feel more uncomfortable. And I think that's a really good sign as to who to gravitate towards. At least for me, I want to date someone who is open-minded, who realizes that most people deal with mental health and who are comfortable talking about it and don't want to keep this subject taboo. Because if it's something that you are dealing with or have dealt with for a long time, having someone discredit you or think that you are less of a person because of it, that is a big warning sign, and you deserve better. However, what I will say is that if we want to get to a point where mental health is discussed openly and in which we can normalize it, I think it is good to be able to open up these conversations. And yeah, in order to normalize it, we need to talk about it. It doesn't mean that it's your responsibility to normalize depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues on your dates and on your own time. But I am saying that it is something worth exploring. If you feel uncomfortable mentioning it, then maybe that's a sign of either some work that you have to do, some work that you have to do with yourself, or that maybe this is not the right person for you. Do you ever struggle with feeling dirty or ashamed after casual sex? Yes. And this is, again, why I talk about casual sex and sex so much on Instagram, because this has been a struggle for me because of the way I grew up, the information I was given and not given, and how just women were treated where I grew up. And it was something that I always felt so ashamed of. I felt ashamed watching porn. I felt ashamed that I felt like watching porn. I felt ashamed that I wanted to have sex, that it was like something that I craved, that I felt like it was a need. I felt ashamed if I met someone and wanted to have sex with them on the first date or on the first meeting. I mean, honestly, what woman doesn't feel ashamed for absolutely everything to do with sex? And again, this is not our fault, but it is our responsibility to, I think, have open conversations about it and try to normalize it. I have had to seek body positive, sex positive education through podcasts, through books, through YouTube channels, through my friends. I remember growing up, my very close circle of friends, we never spoke about sex. And I'm not sure if it had to do with the fact that we were just so ashamed of having had sex or haven't had sex, because of course, if you don't have sex, you're a prude, but if you have sex, you're a slut. It's like everything is always so confusing. And now I make sure to bring up sex in conversation. I want to learn about sex. I want to know what experiences my friends are having. I want that to inform my experiences. I want to know what's worked for them and what hasn't worked for them. And I think in this way we can create better sexual experiences for ourselves. We can talk about sex and not bring all these insecurities to the bedroom. But yeah, I've taken responsibility because I don't want to feel that way anymore. I want to have my sexual experience. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to put any of my emotional baggage onto someone else. I don't want to feel insecure in my body. I don't want to fake orgasms. I don't want to shame anyone else for what they like or they don't like. It is my responsibility to inform myself, educate myself, and then own that. Own that information, own that education, own that sense of power that I have to ask for what I want and to not feel guilty for it. And this is the thing, I think when you're doing things in such an intimate scenario like the bedroom and sex, and you're not asking for what you want, what does that mean in the rest of your life? How you do one thing is usually how you do most things. So keep that in mind. Is there any other aspect in your life in which you're not asking for what you want, or that you are but you're feeling guilty for it? You shouldn't. You shouldn't. And yeah, so we need to work towards that. Me too. How do you handle ghosting? So when I first started dating, I found ghosting very hard to get over. It just feels kind of shitty, and it feels kind of shitty that people don't respect your time or respect you enough as a person to just send you a quick little text saying, you know what, I wasn't vibing with it. I hope your life is great. I make sure to notice how I feel when someone ghosts me so that I don't do that to someone else, because I wouldn't want anyone else to feel that way. But we must take responsibility for this and realize that if someone is ghosting you, Thank you for ghosting me. It means that I don't have to date you anymore. I do not want to date someone who ghosts another person. And that's how I handle it now. Why would I want to settle for a person who can't even send a text saying, you know what, didn't work. I'm a virgin and I'm scared. I want to meet people, but people on Tinder only want sex and I want to develop trust first. Yes, I think this is true. Most people on Tinder are only after sex. So I would suggest going on different apps. I think Hinge is a good app. That's the app that I've been using, and because you do have to put a little bit more effort into your profile, it means that people on there, they are usually looking for something that isn't just sex. I think Bumble is kind of the same. There must be other apps on there. I'm currently only on Hinge. I can only handle small talk and rejection on one dating app. I don't need 3 or 7. And again, yes, it is scary putting yourself out there and knowing that there is a possibility that it might end in sex if you want to, obviously, and if the other person wants to. And having sex for the first time can be nerve-wracking. Of course, you're both naked and you don't know what to do. But it kind of just comes naturally, and I think you just have to be more comfortable with the notion that the first time you have sex is not the last time you'll have sex, and it won't be the best sex you've ever had either. But again, you don't owe anyone anything. If you don't want to have sex with anybody, you don't have to have sex with anybody. Not every date has to end in sex. And again, I think you just have to put yourself out there and develop that trust and stop thinking about the sex. And when the sex comes, it'll come. And hopefully you come too. Hopefully everybody comes. Yeah, I understand the sentiment, but also I understand the power of language, and we need to stop living with these labels in our heads. Like, the concept of virginity is so outdated, and you need to let that shit go. Because I think it puts a lot more pressure on women and on how they should perform, and or when they should lose their virginity and when's too soon and when's not soon enough. Like, the whole concept is completely outdated, completely ridiculous. And yeah, so lose the language. Become more comfortable with yourself by exploring yourself. That's always my recommendation. I think it starts always with exploring yourself, knowing what you like with yourself, so that when you go in and have sex with someone else, you can guide them and you can have that conversation, and you know what you like, and you're not performing for anyone, and you're not faking anything. And yeah, you don't owe anyone sex anyway, so go with that in mind. Go on a date. If all they want is sex, then you leave and you move on to the next person. And that's it. Dating is just a trial and error. See what fits, see what doesn't fit. And a lot of the times it won't fit. And that's good. It just means that you know what you want, and you should respect that and honor that and continue on your search. Sex is meant to be an experience based around pleasure and joy, and in which both parties, or however many people are participating in the experience, are feeling pleasure. That's it. It's an experience. It's beautiful. When you do it with the person you love, it is magic. When you do it with someone that you don't love, it can be magic too. So again, it's all about the feeling. Let yourself be guided by the feeling. To be guided by the feeling though, first, you have to be in a place in which you feel good about yourself, and you are, you're in a good space. Because if you're in a bad place and you're feeling down about yourself, and you let yourself be guided by that feeling, then you're gonna be part of a vicious cycle of doing shit that you didn't want to do, but because you were at that frequency, that's what you did, and that's what you thought you deserved. It's ongoing. How to help yourself get through the period of wanting to die when you're in the thick of a breakup. Okay, so this is obviously very personal as well, and it will differ from person to person. And as always, I can only speak from my experience. And what I can tell you is that one day it'll stop feeling like death. And it isn't all of a sudden. It's just like slowly you'll start feeling less pain. And when you start feeling less pain, you start doing better for yourself. But it's just kind of inevitable to completely break down and to then build yourself up from that. I think what I did was that I was really honest with how I was feeling, and I was really honest with how I was feeling to my friends. And so my friends knew to call me and check up on me and support me. I made sure to do things and go out of the house, and part of that was thanks to my friends who would force me to get out of the house and do things. A lot of the times, as I said, when you are functioning on a very low frequency, then what you will be attracting and what you will be doing is like matching that frequency, that low frequency. So you need people that are feeling better than you to be around you to kind of force them to match their energy and their frequency. There comes a point when there's no more advice people can give you, and you just have to kind of decide when to feel better again. And yeah, as I said, it's kind of a decision that you wake up and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do the best I can to feel good today. And it's just for today. It doesn't mean that I have to feel good forever for the next month or the next year. It's just today I'm gonna do my best. How can I do my best today? Does that mean that I wake up a little bit early and go for a walk? Does that mean I maybe make myself something nice to eat? It can be just one thing, it can be many things. I do know that when you're in the thick of it, everything seems impossible, but this is when you show yourself resilience, and even though when it feels impossible and you can still do the thing, that reinforces the fact that you are brave, you do have the power, and you do have control. So one step at a time, one little thing. As I said, it can be just watching a good movie, it can be calling your friend, it can be making yourself something nice to eat. As I said, running a bath for yourself, just one little thing, do that. And then as time goes on, you'll become more comfortable doing more things, chasing that pleasure, that joy, and yeah, you'll survive it and you'll be good. You are strong and you're beautiful and you deserve the world. Okay, so next question. I slept with a guy after dating him for 2 days and I worry I was too soon and I really like him. So you know I'm gonna have some strong opinions about this one. Again, this is all part of like this weird social construct in which women are sexualized, but as soon as they feel sexually empowered, they must feel guilty and ashamed for it. If you feel comfortable, if you feel like having sex, if you are consenting and the other person and everyone involved has consented to it, go do it, have fun. It doesn't matter if it's the first date, the second date, the third date, a year after dating. Whenever you want to have sex, so long as everything you're doing is safe and everyone is comfortable with what you're doing too, like in regards to in the bedroom, do it. I am so sick of this thing in which women feel insecure and like they've given something away. Like there is, like sex is something to be held back and to be given as a sort of prize for men. Like what the fuck is that bullshit about? Yeah, I think the fact that we're just so constantly on edge and just scrutinizing over everything we do in relationships, new relationships and dating, just takes away from the ease and the fun that should be dating and relationships and sex. I think if we're always overthinking it, if we are always compromising our own happiness, we are missing out on the beautiful aspects of mystery that lie in romance and the really fun bits and the really exciting and exhilarating bits that come with meeting a new person and connecting with them at a different level, at a physical level, at a spiritual level, at a sexual level. Whenever you want to have sex, you should be allowed to have sex. You can be a strong, independent woman or person and have sex on the first date, and that have mean nothing about your personality apart from the fact that you are doing what makes you feel good, and that's what we should all be doing. All the power to you for doing what makes you feel good. You know how many people rob themselves from that on a daily basis? Good on you for taking control, doing what makes you feel good. I salute you, I'm proud of you, and keep going. Keep going. Anyway, I think I have answered not many questions, but I've gone on for like 2 hours now. I have found that the corniest of things are usually the ones that are painfully true, and this is the truth. You are wonderful, wonderful with or without someone. You are wonderful in the situation that you are. You are wonderful in the body that you have. You are wonderful. You just need to start believing that, and then man, the doors that will open to you, the people that you will attract, you will be mesmerized. So yeah, I love you dearly. I love you dearly. Nothing is weird. Everything is normal. And I love you, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.